What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today I want to talk about something that a lot of people have questions on when it comes to Venus flytraps, and that is why their traps are turning black. Now, this is a source of concern for a lot of new growers, but right up front, I'm going to tell you that for the most part, it is a natural process, and in this video, I'm going to teach you why it's a natural process and the different things that occur that could potentially cause that. So let's go ahead and get right into it. By the end of this video, you will be able to understand what is going on, be able to identify it, and potentially, hopefully, it will ease some concerns for you. So right off the bat, Venus flytraps, much like most carnivorous plants, have a very high leaf turnover rate. And so the reason why they do is these leaves require a ton of energy to produce. And so when they have these leaves and they have no more use for them, and or they need to move that energy into a different process, whether that's flowering, whether that's growing more leaves, it will kill them off, especially near the base here. And that is just a way for the plant to conserve energy and not have to put that energy into all of the leaves at once. Now, there are a couple reasons why they might be turning black other than natural causes. So if you're seeing something like this is pretty natural. Now, this is a little bit more than you would see in a natural process, and I'm going to explain why that is now. If you have had a Venus flytrap, let's say indoors for a while, or it has not been in full sun, you want to acclimate it for a couple of weeks before you bring it out to full sun. If you don't, it doesn't necessarily hurt the plant all that much. Now, if it's a very stark difference, it could potentially kill the plant due to stress. The one I have in front of me here was grown by a grower who's very, very good, but they grow it in a little bit lower light. And so when I moved it out to bright light, these plants will get sunburn. And that is very indicative right there of sunburn. See how that leaf and the tips are turning black? And so what ends up happening, even though this plant, Venus flytraps, love bright light, if they are not acclimated for long enough, they will get sunburn and those leaves will die off. Now, I did acclimate this plant. I knew there was going to be some sunburn issues, but that's okay. Now, a good way to tell if your plant is going to be a potential candidate for sunburn through acclimation is if the plant is all green. Now, if you get them like the ones from the big box stores that are plants that you want to rescue, good chances are they're going to get sunburn if you put them directly out into full sun. And so this one is not one of those, but it is similar in how it was kept in lower light. Now, there are other reasons why it would turn black, and so let's talk about those. If your plant catches prey, let's see if I can pull this one out, or at least turn it. Here, let me turn the camera here. Oh, here's a good one. So when these animals, or insects rather, are caught by the plant, the plant will start to produce enzymes to break down the insect. That process results in rather gross, but rotting. And so that rotting produces bacteria and all sorts of other things that can kill off the trap. Also, you can get what's called nitrogen burn. Let's say it catches a prey that's larger than what it's normally used to. If it gets an influx of nitrogen, it can cause the trap to die off too. Have no fears though, this is completely natural. Most of these traps only have about a 2 to 3 time closure on them. And so, especially if it catches something near its ending of that life cycle for that trap, it will die off. It will still get the nutrients it needs, but it will kill off that leaf, and it will use that nitrogen as fertilizer into another newer trap. So that is a perfectly natural case as well. All right. So let's talk about when is a time to worry when your traps are turning black. So a time to worry when your traps are turning black is if you have pests like aphids or spider mites. Now, don't be concerned. The darkening of the traps will be something that you see as a later issue and not an earlier one. So what I mean by that is you will be able to notice a change to your plants well before you see the blackening in traps. If it's aphids and or spider mites, you're going to notice a deformation in the leaves well in advance to the trap turning black. And so with Venus flytraps, the cilia, or the little fingers there, will definitely start to take on a deformed look, and the trap itself might start taking a deformed look. In the case of spider mites, you will notice, especially at the crown, you will start to see what looks like a spider web. And don't be confused with a real spider web. The spider mites, when they build their webs, are tightly knit, and they are mostly towards the crown. And usually by the time they build a web, there's such a large colony that you will see a bunch of little tiny bugs all over the web. Another thing could be lack of light. Now, again, this is something, the death of the trap is going to be something that you will see after the fact. The lack of light will show itself in many different ways prior to the trap turning black. It will have long, spindly leaves, and it will also be very, very droopy. And so that will be a good indicator, as well as being extremely green. If you have a very green fly trap that is droopy and producing long leaves, and that is not part of that cultivar, that is a good sign of lack of light. Now, the final process will be of the leaves dying back. Your soil mix could be another issue. And unfortunately, this is something that sort of happens very suddenly and very rapidly. And once it happens, it is difficult to get ahead of. But what your soil mix, just for the most part, you're going to want to use peat and perlite 50-50 mix. You can add in some blasting sand or pool sand for that. Just make sure it's mineral free, but that will help prevent you from having that issue. Unfortunately, with soil mixes, and also with water, we'll talk about in a minute, the minerals build up over time, and by the time the plant starts turning black, a lot of times damage has already been done. Now that brings me to watering. Watering, with the same issue with soil, sort of creeps up on you. And so you want to make sure that you're using distilled water. You want to make sure that you're using a reverse osmosis or rainwater. Anything else could have a potential to build up minerals. And while it may not impact your plant right away, it will impact it over time. Now, if you're unsure whether or not your tap water can be used, you can use a TDS meter that you can buy on Amazon for about $8, some are $6. You want to look around 50 parts per million for Venus flytraps. They are very, very sensitive to their water level, and why most other carnivores can handle a higher TDS than that. You want to keep it around 50 or less for Venus flytraps. Let me pan out and just show you everything here. And then lastly, this is something that you shouldn't really be too concerned about if you're growing them outdoors, but if you are growing them indoors and are hand feeding them, you can overfeed them. You don't need to put a bug in every single trap, or else you could potentially run the risk of giving the plant too much nitrogen. Now, that is going to be a little harder to do than the other things that I mentioned, but it is still possible. These plants don't need all that much nitrogen to do well. And so if you are going to hand feed them, just put them in 1 or 2 traps here and there, and they will do just fine. There's no need to continuously feed them. But overall, having black traps, if you're doing all the other things I talked about in this video right, you have little to be worried about. Now, let's talk about what to do with those black traps. And that is actually not that bad of a process. And so you can leave them, but I recommend pulling them off just because you don't want to introduce the potential for rot. Just like any other plants, they do like airflow around their crowns. They don't need it as much as like a Nepenthes, but they certainly do appreciate it. If you're growing them indoors especially, you want to make sure that you deadhead all these dead traps once they're ready. And see how I'm pulling here? This one's not ready yet, but once they are ready, you'll know it. They come right off. I'm trying to see if I can find one for you. Here it looks like maybe. See, just down here, just pull them right off. They come right off, and just discard them. They will start to die back on the petiole, but they're still not ready. It's still very much attached to the rhizome, and so you can go ahead and leave those. Overall, this should give you a good tutorial on when and when not to freak out about black traps on your Venus flytraps. I hope that you have enjoyed this, and as always, have a wonderful day. I will see you soon. Bye-bye.